public school for crying out loud. What does he know about ethnic anything? And how on earth you have the time to listen to the pseudo-intellectual garbage he's always spouting is beyond me. Faye picked up her hairbrush from the carpet and prudently changed the subject before her brother could launch full steam into yet another of his periodic rants against her boyfriend. Never mind my backside. How come you have a hangover at 8 o'clock in the evening? She asked curiously. Her brother gave a soft groan and pushed the clothes on Faye's unmade bed aside before throwing himself across it. Although he was only 3 years older than Faye, William was usually so confident and self-assured that people assumed he was much older. It was not like her usually super self-controlled brother to be the victim of anything, Faye thought, much less a hangover. William yawned widely and rubbed his head again. I know, it's mad, isn't it? You know, Lucinda and I went to a legal seminar this afternoon. You're usually lucky to get a glass of cheap plonk afterwards. These guys really push the boat out. Nice canapes and waiters walking around with trays of champagne. One of them must have seriously fancied Lucinda because he just kept hanging around. In the end, we had to empty his tray to get rid of him. Well, I can't say I'm surprised, Faye replied absently, back to brushing furiously at the tight curls on her head. Lucinda was William's girlfriend and was also a lawyer. She was also stunning, with model looks that led her opponents in court to frequently underestimate her ruthlessness in defending her clients, an advantage she exploited shamelessly. When they were out together, the contrast between William's dark good looks and Lucinda's blonde beauty never failed to turn heads. Giving up on Cherise's handiwork with a sigh of exasperation, Faye grabbed a hairband and pulled her hair back into a short ponytail. Grimacing at the thought of the lecture Michael was going to give her when she finally made it to Brixton, she grabbed her faded leather jacket and the pink satin bag she had discovered at the local craft market and headed for the door. Will, I've got to run. Make sure you shut that door behind you. I could do without a lecture from Dad on the state of my room, she babbled breathlessly. Don't forget, when he gets back, tell him I've gone out and that I won't be back too late, okay? Don't forget, Will, you know what he can be like. Ignoring the pained expression on his face as he stood up and tripped over another pile of her clothes, she ran down the stairs and out of the door, sliding quickly into her car and starting the engine. Though the windscreen was misty and she could barely see the road in front of her, she was too worried about being late to wait for the heater to do its work. With a frustrated glance at her watch, she frantically wiped an old tissue that had been shoved into the glove compartment across the foggy screen and was rewarded with streaks of damp tissue fluff across the stubbornly opaque glass. Sighing impatiently, she turned the heater up full blast and crossed her fingers before pulling out into the road. Driving through the dark streets of Hampstead, she sang loudly along with Coldplay as they belted out Paradise through the one speaker in her car that still worked. I wonder what message this song resonates with, she thought flippantly, making a mental note to hide the CD and its obvious lack of ethnic integrity from Michael before she got to Brixton. One rant was more than enough for one evening, she decided, and listening to Coldplay was more than likely to send Michael over the edge. She pushed the engine of her little Fiesta as hard as she could and sent up a silent prayer of thanks for the unusually light traffic on a Saturday night. Keeping a nervous eye on her rearview mirror for any flashing lights, as she dashed through Swiss Cottage and headed down through St. John's Wood, she sped up and slowed down expertly, grateful for her familiarity with the road and the speed cameras on her route. She heaved a sigh of relief at the surprisingly light traffic in central London and sped around the tangle of streets through Victoria, screeching up to the traffic lights at Vauxhall Bridge in fifth gear. Taking her chances, she dashed through the amber light and onto the bridge, for once managing to stay in the right lane for Brixton. It was 9:15 by the time Faye pulled up in front of the tube station where Michael had instructed her to pick him up. She pulled into the side of the road and switched on her hazard lights, ignoring the irritated toots of the cars now forced to drive around her. Concentrating on removing the offending Coldplay CD, she